What you feel when you attract a man who can't be yours. Have you ever felt that chemistry that is impossible to ignore? That magnetism that pulls you towards someone, but at the same time paralyzes you because you know, can't he be yours? Maybe he's married. Maybe it's the boss. Maybe it's the best friend of someone close, or simply be in a completely different moment of life than yours. But the heart doesn't understand logic, does it? And then begins an internal turmoil that few have the courage to admit. You find yourself thinking about him at the most inopportune moments. He makes excuses to be around. You feel butterflies in your stomach when he looks at you, even though you know that shouldn't be happening. It is a mixture of excitement and guilt, of desire and fear, of hope and despair. But what really happens inside you when you live this forbidden attraction? Why does it hurt so much and at the same time feel so intense? And more importantly, what does this situation reveal about who you really are? Get ready, because what you will discover here can completely change the way you see this feeling. 1. The adrenaline of the forbidden. There is something in your body that fires when you are close to it. It is as if each cell suddenly wakes up. Your heart races, your hands are slightly shaky, and you feel an energy coursing through your veins that you can't control. It's not just physical attraction. It's something more primitive, more visceral. It's the same feeling as when you're about to do something risky, when you know you're treading on dangerous ground. This adrenaline rush does not happen by chance. Your brain identifies the situation as a transgression, as something that deviates from the established rules. And paradoxically, this makes everything more intense. Each look exchanged gains a different weight. Each innocent conversation seems to carry a subtext that only the two of you understand. Even the silence between you seems to scream. You find yourself living in a constant state of alert. When it enters the environment, it is as if an electric current travels through the air. You pretend to be natural, but inside you are boiling. Every approach to him is a mixture of panic and ecstasy. You want to run away and get closer at the same time. It is contradictory, but it is exactly this contradiction that feeds the intensity. Danger adds layers of emotion that ordinary relationships don't have. There is no routine, there is no predictability. Each encounter is unique because it carries the possibility of being the last. Each stolen moment seems more valuable precisely because it shouldn't exist. It is like living on the edge of a precipice where fear and excitement mix indistinguishably. Your body reacts chemically to this. Dopamine floods your nervous system, creating a feeling of immediate reward. Adrenaline keeps you in a state of high alert. And oxytocin, released in small doses during these tension-laden interactions, creates a false sense of intimacy and connection. It's a powerful chemical cocktail that your body naturally produces, but it comes at a price. You can't completely relax. She is always on, always attentive, always measuring every word and every gesture. This hypervigilance is exhausting, but at the same time addictive. Because when you are finally close to him, when you can exchange that complicit look or those words that only you understand the true meaning, it all seems to be worth it. The problem is that your body doesn't distinguish between positive arousal and negative stress. For him, it's all activation of the sympathetic nervous system, and that means you're constantly in fight or flight mode, even when you should be at peace. This emotional roller coaster becomes the new normal, and you start to believe that real love needs to be like this, intense, painful, impossible. 2. The void he seems to fill. Before he appeared, there was something in you that felt incomplete. Maybe you didn't even know how to name this feeling. It was like a silent hole, a restlessness that accompanied you in the early mornings, a questioning about the direction of your life that you preferred not to face. And then it appeared, and suddenly that emptiness took shape and address. When he's around, you feel more alive. colors look more vibrant, days have more meaning. Even boring tasks take on a different brightness because you know you can find it. It has become the focal point of your existence without you realizing it. Waking up has a purpose because maybe you see it. Grooming has become a ritual because he can notice. Your choices begin to revolve around the possibility of it. But what's really going on here goes far beyond him. This emptiness you feel was not born with his arrival. It just became more evident. It works as a projection, a mirror where you deposit everything you miss in yourself or in your current life. It can be excitement, it can be validation, it can be the feeling of being seen and desired in a way that hasn't happened in a long time. You begin to idealize not only who he is, but especially what he represents. It becomes a symbol of possibilities, of an alternative life where you would be different, happier, more fulfilled. In his mind, if he were yours, everything would be solved. The problems you face today would simply disappear because next to him, you would be the complete version of yourself. This fantasy is seductive because it saves you from looking inside. It is easier to believe that the solution to your emptiness lies in someone else than to recognize that there are issues of yours that need to be resolved regardless of who is by your side. It becomes the perfect excuse not to deal with what really bothers you. That relationship that no longer satisfies you, that job that drains your energy, those dreams you abandoned along the way. The inconvenient truth is that no one person can fill another's void. This is a romantic illusion that you have been sold since you were little. Genuine love happens between two whole people, not between two halves seeking completeness. But when you're in that situation, you don't want to hear that. He wants to believe that he is special, unique, irreplaceable, and maybe he really has incredible qualities. But the intensity you feel isn't just proportional to who he is. It's proportional to the size of the hole you carry inside you. The greater its emptiness, the more it seems to be the answer to everything. And this creates a dangerous emotional dependency because you transfer to him the responsibility for your happiness, something that he will never be able to truly fulfill. If this message touched something deep inside you and you're ready to understand why certain connections feel impossible to forget, discover the Jung Method. The link is pinned in the first comment. 3. The war between desire and consciousness. You know you shouldn't, but you want to. This internal battle happens dozens of times a day, and each time it makes you more exhausted. It's like having two versions of yourself fighting for control. One that just wants to surrender to what you feel, and another that reminds you of the consequences, the values you've always defended, the people who can get hurt. During the day, you can keep the mask on. He acts normally, fulfills his obligations, interacts with the people around him as if nothing was happening. But inside, it's chaos. Your mind doesn't stop creating scenarios. What if you took courage and said what you feel? What if he felt the same? What if you could be together? But soon comes the other side. What about the people who would be hurt, and his reputation, and its principles? This internal division consumes more energy than you think. It is exhausting to live in constant conflict with yourself. You judge yourself for feeling what you feel. You blame yourself for not being able to just turn off that attraction. You question what kind of person you really are, because it doesn't match the image you have of yourself, or that you want to project to the world. Guilt settles in as a constant companion. Even when you're not doing anything concrete, just by feeding your thoughts, you already feel wrong. It's like you're cheating on someone just for the sake of it, just for the sake of fantasizing. And the worst thing is that the more you try to suppress, the stronger you get. It's the paradoxical effect of suppression. What you try to push under the rug always comes back stronger. You oscillate between extremes. There are days when you decide that you will move away definitively, that you will cut off any possibility of contact, that you will act with maturity and responsibility. On those days, you feel strong, in control. But all it takes is one look from him, one kind word, one unexpected moment together, and their whole resolve collapses like a house of cards. Suddenly you are there again, falling into the same trap. Your moral conscience constantly demands you. You think about the other people involved in the equation, his wife, his current partner, the children who may exist, the friendships that would be destroyed. He can clearly see the trail of pain that this would leave, and it tortures you because you're not a bad person. You don't want to hurt anyone, but the heart doesn't understand ethics, does it? The conflict becomes even more complex when you realize that part of you likes this tension. There is something perversely satisfying about living in that limbo, in that gray zone where nothing is defined. Because while nothing actually happens, you can have the best of both worlds, the excitement of possibility without the responsibility of the real consequences. It is a way of living fantasy without paying the price of reality. 4. When fantasy becomes obsession. At first they were just occasional thoughts, but now it occupies your mind all the time. You wake up thinking about him, spend the day checking to see if you're going to find him, and sleep creating impossible scenarios where you finally get together. This is no longer a simple attraction. It has become a fixation that controls your life without you realizing it. You start acting in ways you never imagined. She memorizes his schedules, changes her routine to cross paths with him, creates elaborate excuses to show up in the same places. Your friends comment that you look different, but you deny it. After all, what happens inside your head is yours alone. No one needs to know. But the truth is that you no longer have full control over your own thoughts. Social networks have become investigative tools. You know every photo, every comment, every mutual friend. You know details of his life that he never told you directly. And the worst, you don't see a problem with that. He justifies it by saying that it is just natural curiosity, that anyone would do the same. But deep down, he knows that he has already exceeded healthy limits. Her conversations with friends always come back to him. You look for any loophole to mention his name, to tell that insignificant interaction that for you was monumental. He analyzes every word he said, every gesture he made, looking for hidden signs that he feels the same. It transforms crumbs into banquets, casual glances into silent statements. The line between reality and fantasy begins to blur. You create stories in your head that are so vivid that you sometimes mistake them for real memories. Imagine entire conversations, intimate situations, passionate statements. And these fantasies feed the obsession even more because your brain doesn't completely differentiate between what you experience and what you intensely imagine. For him, everything generates the same emotional responses. The rest of your life is in the background. That project you were excited about loses its luster. Friends complain that you are distant. You stop doing things you used to enjoy because nothing else seems interesting compared to the intensity of what you feel. It has become the center of your universe, and everything orbits around it. You lose objectivity. She can no longer realistically assess the situation because she is too emotionally invested. When someone tries to warn you, you defend yourself fiercely. Nobody understands what you have. Nobody sees the special connection that exists. They are just words that you repeat to yourself, keeping the illusion alive. 5. The fear of being discovered. The terror that someone will notice is constant. You live calculating every movement, every facial expression, every word. It's like walking in a minefield where any wrong step can detonate your entire life. This fear infiltrates at all times, turning even the simplest situations into sources of anxiety. When you're in the same room with other people, you're hyper-aware of yourself. You can't look too much, you can't look too little. It needs to look natural. But how do you be natural when every fiber of your body is screaming attention at it? You rehearse neutral expressions in the mirror, train disinterested tones of voice, create a persona that does not arouse suspicion. Social networks become dangerous traps. An innocent like can be interpreted, a casual comment can draw attention. Even viewing his stories at the wrong time can create speculation. You develop elaborate strategies. You wait hours to like something. You never comment directly. You create fake accounts just to follow without leaving a trace. It is a web of lies that is becoming more and more complex. You are afraid to speak even in your sleep. Serious. It has happened that you wake up scared, thinking that you have said his name out loud. Constantly checks your phone to make sure you haven't accidentally sent any compromising messages. Delete conversations before anyone can see. Use codes with your closest friends when you need to vent. The worst thing is the fear of betraying yourself. A longer look that you couldn't control. A smile that came automatically when he appeared. A disproportionate emotional reaction to something he said. You watch yourself all the time, but sometimes the body gives away what the mind tries to hide. And that terrifies you because it means you don't have full control of the situation. There is also the fear of social judgment. You know exactly what people would say if they found out. The looks of reproach, the whispers behind his back, the way his reputation would be destroyed, especially being a woman, because society always judges harsher. He would be seen as a conqueror, you as the homewrecker or the gold digger. This constant fear keeps you in a state of permanent alert. Your nervous system never completely relaxes, because there is always the possibility of being exposed. It's exhausting to live like this, but you can't stop, because to admit fear would be to admit that you are doing something wrong, and you're not ready for that truth yet. 6. The pain of being so close and so far. It's a peculiar torture to be by his side knowing you can't touch him. Seeing the smile you wanted to provoke being directed at other people. To hear the voice you wanted to whisper in your ear, talking about banal everyday things. It's like dying of thirst next to a river you can't drink. Every encounter is bittersweet. You count down the minutes until you see him, but when you're finally close, the frustration of not being able to be true is heartbreaking. You have to feign indifference when you want to shout what you feel. You have to keep your distance when every cell in your body wants to get closer. It's a constant exercise in self-control that leaves you mentally drained. Goodbyes are the worst. You make excuses to prolong a few more seconds, a few more minutes. He keeps every detail of that moment because he doesn't know when the next one will be. And after he leaves, comes emptiness, a deafening silence that screams everything you didn't say, everything that didn't happen, everything that will never happen. You suffer in advance for situations that you will never live. You will never wake up next to him. You will never know the little quirks that only those who live with you discover. There will never be pictures together to show. You will never be able to call just to hear his voice when you miss him. There are thousands of small daily deaths of possibilities that will never be realized. The intimacy you have is all built on crumbs and stolen moments. A deeper conversation here, a look that lasted longer than usual there. You put these fragments together and try to put together a relationship in your head, but deep down, you know it's illusory. You have no real intimacy. They only have the tension of unfulfilled intimacy, which sometimes seems even more intense. There is a specific loneliness in this situation. You carry a giant feeling that you can't fully share with anyone. The people around you don't know what you're going through. They don't understand why you're sad for no apparent reason, why certain days are more difficult, why you're emotionally absent. You live a double life where the most important part of you is hidden. Time doesn't help. Every day that passes without anything changing is a confirmation that it will probably never change. But you still hold out hope, because to give up would be to admit that all this suffering was in vain. So she continues, trapped in this painful limbo between wanting and not being able to, between dreaming and waking up to reality. 7. What it reveals about you. This whole situation isn't really about him. It seems hard to accept, but the intensity you feel says much more about you than any special qualities he has. It has become the stage where you project needs, fears, and desires that were already inside you, waiting for an opportunity to emerge. Maybe you're running away from a reality that no longer satisfies you. This man represents an imaginary exit door, an alternative life where you would be different, happier, more complete. But the truth is that the problems you have today would probably come together if you were together, because they are within you, not in the external circumstances. There is the issue of self-esteem too. When you feel invisible in your current life, being desired by someone who seems unattainable works as a powerful validation. It proves that you still have value, that you are still capable of provoking passion, that you are still seen. The problem is to look for your value in someone else's eyes instead of building it within yourself. There may also be an unconscious tendency to choose impossible situations precisely because they are secure in their impossibility. Falling in love with someone who can't be yours protects you from a real intimacy, which scares you more than you admit. Because real relationships require vulnerability, commitment, full disclosure of who you are, flawed and all. A fantasy, on the other hand, you totally control. There is a possibility that you are repeating old patterns. Perhaps in childhood you learned that love means suffering, that wishing is more interesting than having, that distance is romantic. These unconscious models guide your adult love choices without you realizing it. And you keep creating situations where you can relive these family dynamics, even if they are painful. This attraction may also be revealing aspects of yourself that you have repressed, desires that you thought were inadequate, parts of you that don't match the image you've built. It represents transgression, rule-breaking, a freer version of yourself. It's just that you seek it out instead of integrating these qualities in a healthy way into your own life. The good news is that acknowledging this doesn't invalidate how you feel. It just puts it in perspective. You're not a bad person for being in this situation. It's a human person dealing with complex emotions in the way he's learned so far. But understanding what's really going on beyond the surface is the first step to consciously choosing what to do with it, rather than just reacting to impulses. 8. How to transform this feeling. You won't wake up tomorrow without feeling anything. It doesn't work like that. But you can start today to turn that wasted energy into something that really builds your life.